Namaste and a warm welcome to our conversations on Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu region has been in the news recently due to a significant increase in the number of terrorist incidents and frequent clashes between terrorists and the security forces. In the past 32 months, 48 Indian Army soldiers have been killed in Jammu alone. The nullification of Article 370, while it has effectively reduced terrorism in Kashmir and improved the security situation there, terrorist activities have now resurfaced in the Jammu region. This raises several questions. What is causing this surge of terror incidents in an otherwise peaceful Jammu? Why have terror organizations shifted their focus from Kashmir to Jammu? And what strategies and efforts are needed to ensure that there is no terrorism at all in Jammu and Kashmir? To get some insights into these questions and more, we have with us Colonel Ajay Raina ji. He's an Indian Army veteran and author of numerous books on this region, including the Kashmir Narratives, the Unholy Jihad, Battle for Kashmir, and many, many more. His most recent book, Leap of the Snow Leopard, covers the clash at Galwan in eastern Ladakh and its aftermath. He's also described as an entrepreneur, and rightly so. We feel fortunate to tap into his perceptive insights about the region today. A very warm welcome, Ajay ji. Thank you for making time for this conversation.
Namaskar, Shweta ji. Namaskar, everybody. Nice to be here. Privileged to be here. Thanks for inviting me over.
Hi. It's totally our pleasure and honor. So start with Ajay ji. So if you can just give us a broad overview of the reasons behind the recent increase in terror incidents in Jammu, which remained largely peaceful actually for the past 2 decades.
Okay. Shweta ji, everything lies in our history, but we tend to ignore it, and then we don't pick up right lessons, and then when it happens again, we kind of try to cope. So if you remember in 1991, till 1991, the area of Ladakh had two divisions. Now, one division, when we say division in army parlance, is anything about 12,000 to 15,000 troops. So everything was peaceful in Ladakh. Things were heating up in Valley in 90s, early 90s. So in 91, one complete division was moved from Kargil area into Kashmir Valley because Kargil was peaceful, Ladakh per se was peaceful, and things were happening in Kashmir. The result of that movement, because once they moved, those areas were not filled up. Whatever was left behind, the troops were told to just expand left and right to cover more areas with a lot of gaps. So result of that was 1999 Kargil conflict, when Pakistan army disguised as Mujahideens, which they utterly failed to actually cover it. After some time, they came in. Similar thing has happened here. 5th August 2019, Article 370 is diluted, 35 alpha goes. Thereafter and before that, in fact, I keep telling people, don't look at this date. That date was when a thing happened inside Parliament of India. But before that, almost 2 years before that, the work had started on ground. Panchayat elections were being held. A lot of things were happening. Development work was going on. The grid, when we say grid, so when you operate in a counter terrorism area, so you divide the area in a geographical manner. I mean, what do you call it? Grammatical manner. So it's like slices of a cake. No? So on every cross section where two lines meet, vertical and horizontal, you place troops. So the whole thing is a mesh, is called grid. So that was done. And then this event of 5th August happened. And thereafter, as you would have seen and already rightly said, Kashmir became pretty peaceful. Nothing major has happened thereafter. You see, thing like terrorism, thing like insurgency, when supported by your neighbor, will never go. It will only come down to a trickle, then try to raise its head, then will be crushed again. It's a cyclic thing, and cycles are 8 to 10 year cycle. So while that was happening, China comes into play. I always tell people that Kashmir issue is no longer between India and Pakistan. Pakistan is not a party. No, you can be a party to dispute when you have something, muscles or money or power. If you don't have that, and when you hand over Sakshkam Valley of Jammu and Kashmir to China, to settle your own boundary dispute that happened in 1963. So you handed over the dispute to China because the CPEC, where China has already sunk in about $60 billion, a major chunk of it passes through our area of India's area of Gilgit-Baltistan. So today or tomorrow, if something were to develop on Kashmir front, China has a stake. So China has become a stakeholder. China has become a stakeholder in this Kashmir issue with $60 billion sunk only in CPEC. Then investment along line of control. Now the equipment being caught, the terrorists who are being who are getting killed now in Jammu, the radio sets, everything, they're all Chinese military supplies. They are not commercial stuff. So China's stake in Kashmir now is much beyond maybe $100 billion. So at the end of the day, it's all money. So if that be so, so what happened in 2019? Pakistan couldn't do anything. Like I told you, either you should have muscles or money or power, something. Pakistan economy, we know everything what's happening there. They're not able to control a city called Bannu. It's on fire for last 48 hours. So Pakistan didn't do anything. Imran Khan made he just wrote a silly tweet and he stopped business with India. And the result of that, the population of Pakistan is now paying because the same tomatoes and onions and medicines which India used to supply at a very reasonable rate, same rate what we buy in India, same stuff is now reaching Pakistan via Dubai, but cost is now multiplied 4 to 5 times. So in a nutshell, Pakistan couldn't do anything. So his big brother China came to rescue. So China breached our line of actual control in Galwan. Now you take your mind back to 91. You breach Galwan. India had no option but to move troops into Ladakh to have a mirror kind of a deployment to match the deployment of Chinese who were threatening to walk into Ladakh. And the nearest troops available were in Jammu region, which was peaceful, like you said, 2 decades, nothing was happening. 2003, 2004 onwards, and nothing happening there actually. So not as a reflex, but as the nearest available resource, or division headquarter worth of troops from this Riasi uh, rear of Rajouri, the Buddhal area, that division was moved into Ladakh. It's still there. So a vacuum gets created in Jammu region. Now Kashmir, like I said, the CA grid was very well maintained, established much before 2019. So Kashmir, even today, they're not able to do anything. Plus, no terrorism survives without local support. Whatever Pakistan's been claiming, the fact remains Kashmiris are seeing a new Kashmir in the sense the development which is happening, the kind of job opportunities which are coming, investment from Arab. That's another reason that Pakistan dare not do much in Kashmir because Arabs are investing in Kashmir. So if you have uh, cinema complex or a mall or a shopping complex being constructed with Arab money, you think Pakistan has a guts to do anything to that property because then Arabs will squeeze them because the money funding comes, so Khairat comes from there. So Kashmir is now a closed chapter, Kashmir Valley. As far as Pakistan is concerned, like I said, terrorism will keep coming. Something will keep happening. That's okay. So they China, by sucking in troops from Jammu region, opened a window of opportunity for Pakistan. Now this happens in 2019, 2020. It's been 4 years. So that's the reason I tell people it takes time for actions to build up. So they've taken the sweet time. Till 2022, they didn't do anything. And 2022 onwards, incidents started happening in Jammu part of the state, UT. And it's one thing is that you just pull out troops, uh, they go somewhere and you have gap. In this case, what had happened, troops went out. So the terrain of Jammu is totally different from terrain in Kashmir. Kashmir is flat, Kashmir Valley. Not northern Kashmir is as good or as bad as Poonch Rajouri, but main Kashmir, South Kashmir, valley of Kashmir is flat and open. Whereas this is highly mountainous, dense jungles, lot of caves, lot of nalas, lot of places to hide. Your drones don't work. So this area, they took their time to, because earlier, if you remember, there was a very famous operations carried out in Hill Khaka area and Tasar Vinash. That time also they had done this. They had taken time to build up the logistics. So in this area, they built up the logistics. The advantage they had this time was like unlike Kashmir. In Kashmir, if a non-Kashmiri goes, Afghan or Pakistani Punjabi or Nigerian, Algerian, we've seen all of them coming. Moroccan. So they get identified. So if people want to support them, they'll be supported, or there'll be some information will leak out. So like I said, people are in no mood to entertain these Pakistanis now. But in Jammu region, the people who are coming in are coming from POJK. Those guys look like us. I am also a POJK resident. My ancestors belong to POJK. Now we are this side of line of control. So they look like us. They speak like us. They eat like us. Their mannerism, body language is similar to us. Plus, this line of control, as it runs into Rajouri and Poonch and beyond, the cell phone coverage on both sides is pretty good. Our signals reach there, and their signals come into our area. So making use of that kind of where identification becomes an issue. In Kashmir, they would have been spotted straight away. Here, what is happening? They're just mingling. They don't need public support. They need some support. So in a town like Rajouri, if you have 10, 12 people looking after your interests, that's enough. So these people went and stocked up their caves and hides, and then they moved in. And these guys having moved in, if you see it now, the reports are about 50 to 60 of them in Pir Panjal area. Pir Panjal, like I said, when the gap was created, the thing which happened on ground was that once upon a time, all important features, the hilltops, peaks, were with the army. Now, when troops moved to Ladakh, the troops which were left on the top of the heights, they had to come down because there were no bases left down below. You can only operate in mountains when you have somebody supporting you in the roadhead where supplies come and everything. So those areas been left out. So the vacuum which got created, not only in numbers, but the relocation of troops, the CA grid got disturbed. That thing which was geometrical in shape, where you had every intersection having some troops, that thing got destroyed. And for 2 years after that, nothing happened. So people took it easy. So many intelligence agencies are working. Nobody picked up any signal. No intelligence. Only when 22 onwards, things started heating up. Then it was realized that now a lot of movement has happened. A lot of troops are coming to area. That's why you're not hearing anything from Rajouri Punch for last about 2-3 months. Rajouri Punch area has in a way gone cold. Like I say, there's no guarantee that nothing will happen tomorrow, but as of now, things are okay there. And action has shifted towards Kathua and then beyond into Dota. Because Kathua, they also have an option to infiltrate through uh, Sialkot area. Because our great Mehbooba Mufti and parties based in Kashmir, over a period of time, they settled nomads belonging to basically one faith, that is Islam. In Jammu and Kashmir, Gujars are Muslims. So all these khads or nalas which lead to line of, we call it international boundary between Jammu and Kathua. Pakistan calls it working boundary. So a lot of rivers. Recently, you would have heard Ravi River water has been blocked. The main river has been blocked, but there are tributaries of Ravi like Uj uh, and Basantar, which originate in India, but they actually confluence with Ravi only once Ravi is entered Pakistan, 70 kilometers inside. So these nalas, they keep flowing into Pakistan from India. And summertime, there's hardly any water. And there are many small little khads, small little streams around these nalas. So all along those arteries, the deliberate settlement of demographic changes happen. So moment they cross over, whether they cross over using tunnels or they cross over using places where whenever there's a flooding happening, especially during monsoons, the fence on the international border gets washed away, part of it. And there's a, if you have a will, there's a way. I mean, there's a will, there's a way. So they enter. Moment they enter, then they have a ready-made facility available to get guidance, get food, get everything. And that's how they get into Kathua, and then they keep going across, and then they get into Doda area. So this is the big picture that while the fact remains that reduction of troops or pulling out of troops from Jammu region has actually led to this. But the moot point is that it is China at play. We must not lose sight of the big picture. Okay, troops have gone, but why are they gone? Because after our troops went there, there'll be no clash thereafter. It's all okay. I mean, tension is there on line of actual control, but China wanted India to react, so they did Galwan, which was the first bloody incident after 1967. So there has to be reason. Otherwise, LAC tension has been there since 62 or 59, in fact. So this is how I look at the overall picture. I hope I answered your question. I mean, the subject is very wide, so we can keep talking.
Definitely, those are some very revealing and insightful details. And yeah, as we progress, we would like you to elaborate on some of the reasons that you have stated. So if I can just, again probe you on the regions where where the attacks have happened. It has happened in Doda, Kishtawar, Kathua, Riasi, all these districts. Would you say they are all close to LOC and the Pir Panjal range in terms of geographical sense of the Jammu region?
Yeah, not LC per se, LOC. Pir Panjal, yes. Punch and Rajouri they're hugging Pir Panjal. Now, Punch is bang on the line of control. In fact, Punch has line of control on its three sides practically. It's a kind of a protrusion inside POJK. Whereas Rajouri is well behind. But then that's how the alignment of Pir Panjal is. Pir Panjal also doesn't run straight west to east. It runs kind of, it keeps going away from a line of control as it comes towards east. So Punch, it's bang on one side is Pir Panjal, and where you have Hajipir Pass, uh, touching the base of that Pir Panjal feature is Punch town. Then this Pir Panjal, instead of running due east, starts running slightly easterly, away from line of control. So then you have Rajouri. Then you have Buddal. Buddal is a Riasi area, which is again on Pir Panjal. Then you go across and then you reach the Doda area, which narrative builders have started calling Chenab Valley. We don't accept it as Chenab Valley. This is Jammu's Doda region. So there you have Doda, then you have Kishtwar. Kishtwar hugs the main Pir Panjal branch, which separates Jammu region from Kashmir. So between Kishtwar and Anantnag, you have Sinthan Pass. Okay. But another branch of Pir Panjal, it is an offshoot, where lies Sanasar and Patnitop. Now this area separates Doda region from main Jammu region, that is Udhampur and Doda. In between stands that offshoot of Pir Panjal. So now to reach Doda, you can either keep following route along Pir Panjal, starting from Rajouri or Punch. You infiltrate. Like I said, Riasi and Budal, that area is practically on Pir Panjal. Riasi is down below. Budal is in proper Pir Panjal. Or you can infiltrate from Suchetgarh, Samba, Kathua, this area, and go up north. So you reach Kathua, keep going further to the north, and then you cross over into uh, Doda region. Uh, till now, in present circumstances, Kishtwar has remained silent, but I don't expect it to remain silent for long. Kishtwar was a turbulent place during last round of terrorism. So Kishtwar also I expect to come into play very soon. As of now, it is Doda, and this side is Kathua, and then going west, you have Riasi, Rajouri, and Punch. These five places have seen action over last, like you said, 32 months, 36 months, and latest being Doda. So it's
Okay.
Pir Panjal, which even if you infiltrate from Suchetgarh or Samba or Kathua, you are heading for Pir Panjal because Pir Panjal remains the biggest landmark. It's the biggest navigation aid. Once you're there, you know that side is Doda and this side is. And when you're into Doda region and then you see the main Pir Panjal range, so you know that side is Kashmir. So the Doda is sandwiched between two offshoots of Pir Panjal, main Pir Panjal and one which runs through Sanazar and Patnitap and goes to Sudmahadev and beyond. That's how it is.
Okay. So that definitely, helps us draw a picture. But Ajay ji, how would you describe this terrorists who have infiltrated these regions in Jammu and their current operational tactics? Because these terror incidents in Jammu seem a little bit different from the earlier ones in Kashmir, which were more targeted attacks, primarily carried out by hybrid terrorists, and they would target, unarmed policemen and civilians, especially Kashmiri Hindus and non-Kashmiris from other parts of India. So, how do you interpret this shift in strategy?
See, these guys are also killing Hindus. They went to village Dagri, they checked the Aadhaar cards, and then they lined up people and shot them. So the basic, I keep saying every time that where India is going wrong in tackling this issue is that we're calling it as a political issue. Kashmir is a fundamentalist Islamic issue. It is based on the concept that nobody else has a right to exist. So they cleaned up Kashmir of Kashmiri Pandits And they tried this thing in Rajouri also. But the difference which we're seeing, what you're asking me, is that modus operandi, these guys are trained people. They are not the run of the mill terrorist like we used to see in Kashmir. In Kashmir Valley, we knew a local Kashmiri terrorist was at the bottom of the ladder, easy to apprehend, easy to put pressure, and easy to actually kill. Then you had Punjabis and Pashtuns, and then you had foreigners coming up from, like I said, we had once upon a time, we had Moroccans, Algerians, Sudanese in operating in Kashmir soon after Afghanistan jihad got over in 89. So they were good fighters, tough fighters. We also had army component of Pakistan army coming into Kashmir. So I remember one guy clearly, Major Usman, very famous guy. He created a lot of shindy in Kupwara in early 90s. Now, in present things which are happening in Jammu region, you definitely, as per intelligence report and as a veteran, I can make out these guys are soldiers. Now, whether they're serving or they're retired, because Pakistan has a history. In 1947-48, they sent tribesmen, but all the leaders, the Lashkars, every Lashkar was 1,000 people. Leader of every Lashkar was a Fauji officer, Major Saab from our Pakistan Army. A team of a major and 10 JCU NCOs, junior commissioned officer, non-commissioned officers, Havaldar, Subedars, they were managing each Lashkar. But Pakistanis called it, not Pakistanis, they were just born when 18th of August, General Sarvi signed on that order that we have to invade Kashmir 18th of August 1947. It was a British ploy. Pakistanis were used as a good contractor will use clueless laborers. So that was their status in 47-48. But the mindset was same. They sent tribesmen led by Pakistan army people serving, shown on leave. They were shown on leave for 1 year and they came leading them into India. Similar thing is happening now because the way they operate, the way they have been able to cause casualties to Indian army, a well-trained Indian army, while not suffering those many casualties. Kashmir made is, you would have seen the trend last 20, 30 years. You kill one, next day, 72 hours, you have four of them knocked out. Here, that thing is not happening. There are two reasons. Firstly, they're very well trained. Secondly, they have made use of these 2, 3, 4 years after 2019, when the troops moved out into Ladakh, uh, to build up their logistics, build up their bases across Pir Panjal. So how I look at it is like on a map, you point out 30, 40 places, maybe 2 to 3 kilometers apart, and you say, okay, we will now stock these places. Stock these places with dry rations, medicines, things which don't go bad in a couple of years. Seal them and put them. It could be a cave, it could be any hideout, natural hideout or man-made hideout underground. Of course, locals have used them, helped them. So if you have that kind of setup existing in a rugged terrain like you get in Pir Panjal, so what happens is you have the flexibility. You could be here today, you could be there tomorrow. You don't have to enter village and request for rotis or like they used to do in Kashmir. Half of intelligence used to come because they'll enter a village and take food. In most of cases, molest the lady of the house and they go back. And when they go back, the guy will keep comes running to army and tells, "Kaise aise ho gaya? Please help me." In this case, that thing is not happened. But for one incident in Punch, where later on it was known that they a day prior to attacking Indian troops, they came down to a village, one guy, and he said, "Give me 100 rotis, 100 chapatis." So, but he didn't come to a normal civilian. He came to a OGW, overgrown worker, one of the guys who had actually got them inside. So the difference here is they are not trusting everybody. They are not getting into every house, and they are not targeting civilians. Initially, they tried in Rajouri, and then VDC guys knocked them. One of them was knocked out by VDC. Then army came and killed. Thereafter, they're not fingering locals. At the same time, they are not mingling around with locals. They are not trusting everybody. They are not making themselves visible. So they're staying away from places. They have multiple bases where everything is already stocked. And then they have a network of overgrown workers, very selected, trusted ones. Trust in this game is money. When you pay somebody very well, he becomes your trusted partner. Otherwise, this game has no, you can't really expect high morals. So training, creating a infrastructure across Pir Panjal, and Then communicating ultrasets, communicating on ultrasets, Chinese made ultrasets, which cannot be intercepted. Now, ultraset, you can make a phone call, you can also make a wireless call. Only handicap in that is, if I am in Rajouri area, I am a terrorist, and other my buddy is sitting in Punch, we cannot speak to each other directly. So we have to go to master control, which is other side of line of control. So I have to go to master. Master will then convey my message to my buddy in Punch. So that actually makes Pakistan army more powerful, in control. Earlier, what used to happen? Two terrorists in two different areas, they're talking to each other, getting intercepted, getting killed. Now, firstly, they can't talk laterally. They have to go back to the next vertical, which lies in POJK, which is Pakistani army controlled master station. So this ultrasets operate like that. Plus, they also have a navigational way where they don't need internet signals. It's like a dumb GPS. So once you fed in everything, like I said, say you have 30, 40 places where you stocked points. Now it's difficult for anybody to remember, because these are hides. These are not open areas. No, there's a flag telling you come here, come here. Your medicines lying here. These are all hidden. But you have the grid reference of all those places. Those are fed into the GPS, and which doesn't take regular signals from satellite. So it is a far better version of normal GPS. So you can't even you can't make out signals. It doesn't give out any signals. So it has a memory through which it tells you, where you feed your grid reference, it will take you to the grid. So things like that. So modern technology, much more careful networking, deliberate stalking of their bases, and better training, which I always like. Most of us here believe that by that we mean ex-soldiers or serving soldiers, could be from the special service group, could be the normal guys. There are a lot of fanatics in Pakistan, so there's no dearth of people taking for such jobs. So it's a combination of that. That's a difference if you compare it with Kashmir.
Absolutely. They have actually wreaked considerable havoc in this region. I mean, five major terror attacks have just happened in the past 2 months, and 16 Indian Army personnel have been killed. And we already you mentioned about the 9 pilgrims who were also brutally gunned down. So that is definitely quite disturbing. So would it be also fair to say that there seems to be some strategic messaging, because they seem like high impact kind of incidents, all these recent attacks?
Yeah, they're keeping the hope alive for their friends who are in Kashmir, who have actually given up. So you tell them, don't worry, we are there. We are there, and we can do a lot of things. The attack on those pilgrims in Riyasi happened the day Modi ji was getting sworn in, so it was definitely a signaling. There's no doubt about that. That also happens. Uh, to my mind, Pakistan is doing it on behalf of China once again, because if something happens tomorrow, and unless until China comes into play, Pakistan will be removed from the map of the world in the present shape. I mean, you can't really evaporate a country, but then you have balkanization of country happening with the kind of economy, and the chief saying that we don't have petrol, diesel to fight for even for a week. And we know what's happening inside the country, what's happening in PTA, what's happening in Pashtuns, that discontentment blows are hitting them. TTP is killing their forces every second day. So Pakistan is in no position to wage a war like this, deliberate war like this. Though Pakistan has a record of diverting attention whenever they were in soup, they have waged war against India, because all wars have been initiated by Pakistan, 47, 48, 65, 71, and 99. So that point is also there, that it could be an attempt to divert attention of their own citizen from the issues, but then they don't have wherewithal. So it is, like I said, ultrasets, the navigation system, weaponry is all new, and a bulk of it is from China. So it will be fair to say that Pakistan is doing China's bit. Pakistan is a rental state. It rents itself everywhere. If you read the history of Middle East, what I call it West Asia, you would have seen Pakistan army's involvement everywhere. They've been going to Saudis. They killed Palestinians. By the way, General Zia was a brigadier who led an operation against Palestinians in Jordan and killed about, some say 2,000, some say 2,200, whatever. Same same Pakistanis who are now dancing for Palestinian cause. They killed General Zia as a brigadier, killed Palestinians in Jordan. So Pakistan has been renting itself. I don't want to use certain words, you being a lady, otherwise in our parlance, we use that thing very often. Hira Mandi is one decent way to describe them. So a state which offers itself to others in lieu of money, they offer themselves to Americans to do their bit in Afghanistan during first jihad, then the war on terror. Now they're doing it for China. Like one message to Kashmiri, those who are hoping to see Azad Kashmir, that of course signaling is there, and they want to keep the fire burning in so-called Kashmir issue, because world at large has accepted that India has done whatever is supposed to be done. 370 removed. India, Kashmir is now officially and legally, and Supreme Court has endorsed that move. So everything else has been taken care of India. So this is a way to keep the burner on. But you would notice, Shwetaji, that unlike Pulwama or Uri, this time, while they're attacking frequently, the numbers, I mean, even one life lost is, it can't be condoned, but numbers are 3 to 4 to 5, because they also understand that if they bring it beyond a number, I mean, if they do that 10-20 kind of a thing, so India will retaliate. My feeling is that India should retaliate in a way. We should not be really counting numbers, because one life lost is, I mean, it demands an action. But of course, I'm not among those who say just cross LC and start fighting war. I'm not from that lobby. I want action of that we can speak later on, discuss later on. So these are signaling they're doing. And one thing you must understand, Shweta, this is not new. These kinds of casualties have happened in the past also. Only thing is that time social media was not there. Uh, Not even social media, even media was not allowed to operate in Kashmir that time. Initially, when terrorism started in early 90s, late 80s and early 90s, 91, 92, 93 were very tough times. There was no technology to help us. People were against us. At that time, it was actually a big wave happening across Kashmir. And we had no bulletproof jackets, no bulletproof patkas. Vehicles were normal, thin-skinned, canvas body vehicles, and we used to operate. So we used to buy casualties even that time. See, in a conflict, casualties will happen. It's nothing new. But since they're happening after a gap, and they're happening in the realm of social media, where terrorists themselves do an action and then put up a video on Telegram and WhatsApp, then it becomes viral. So it starts hurting more. And it should hurt. Why not? I mean, it's not an era where you kill people to sort out an issue. If they're doing it, people, emotions of people must be mobilized. Why not? Government should be forced to do something which is, I mean, fair enough. So this is what they're trying to do: messaging and kind of keeping the issue boiling, and doing China's bit. Three major things. Rest, of course, there could be many more.
Definitely. So you talked about, China being a significant factor in the Jammu Kashmir equation. Then how prepared is India to address the dual threat from Pakistan and China? Because they've moved initially troops from the Jammu region to Ladakh, and wherever it is required. But can India really afford to do that in such a case?
Okay, no, we must understand one thing, Shweta ji. Our deployment along line of actual control facing China used to be very, very thin. In fact, there was no deployment along line of actual control. There was a line of actual control which was not demarcated, which is not demarcated. So only our patrol will go, their patrol will come, they'll show banners to each other and go come back. No, at times we used to go that side, which we thought was our area, they say it's our area. At times they used to come this side, they say this is our area, they say this is our area. So LAC was not really manned. Line of control is very thickly manned, very heavily manned, eyeball to eyeball kind of a deployment. That is from Chenab and right till the end of North Kashmir, jetting into Batalik sector of Ladakh, where the Sechin starts at a point beyond Batalik. So this area is very heavily guarded. It was very heavily guarded. It is heavily guarded. No reduction of troops has happened from line of control. Troops have been taken out. Troops which are deployed on counter-insurgency or counter-terrorism grid in the hinterland. That doesn't mean that if tomorrow there is a requirement, we don't have troops. We have enough troops. Where we went wrong, we must accept the think were mistakes. We removed troops from Jammu region. Nothing happened for next 2 years, practically. Till 2022, nothing happened. So it was taken as a sign, okay, all right, things were peaceful for 18, 20 years before that, and they continue to be peaceful. So why fill up the gap? That's where we went wrong. What should have ideally been happening was that troops moved from Jammu to Ladakh. So if not army, there's enough army in rest of India, and whether army unit is sitting in Hyderabad or sitting in Trivandrum, they know they have to fight on the borders. They are not there to fight. A unit in Trivandrum doesn't fight in Trivandrum. They are there just as a logistical reason that troops also need to be given peacetime stay with families. So you have peace stations run all across India, but that are not places they are going to fight. They are finally going to fight either on LC or international border or on line of actual control. There's no fourth place for Indian Army. Navy has own frontier and Air Force, of course. So troops are not in shortage. Troops are there. What we did, there are two things which should have been done that, and now we have the benefit of looking back and retrospective. First was, if army troops were not to be brought in from outside, then at least CRPF, ITBF, the Central Police Organization should have been brought in to show presence. So if you're vacating a post which was being held by RR unit, RR company on top of a mountain, now that RR company has gone to Ladakh, somebody else wearing uniform should have come. And the VDCs, now they call them VDGs, Village Defense Committees, which played a stellar role during first phase of terrorism when they brought the thing down, they should have been activated. So CRPF, paramilitary forces is the wrong word. Paramilitary forces, India has only two SAM rifles and Rashtriya rifles which operate under army. CPOs, Central Police Organizations or Central Armed Police Forces, CAPFs like ITBP, CRPF. These guys, supplemented or complemented by VDCs, should have been put in place. Then this thing wouldn't have happened. But then uh, like I said, today we have the benefit of looking back and saying, commenting on things. That time, the decision was taken because things appear to be okay. So that I don't treat that as a mistake. Vacuum should not have been left. But even if it was left, it's not a mistake. Where we went wrong actually was when terrorists started building up their bases inside Kir Panjal. And our intelligence, no intelligence came to us. Because once you are not on ground, even if there's a guy who wants to tell you something, you are a Fauji, he or she wants to come to you and say, sir, I saw some terrorists there. Where does she go when there are no troops? So it is related, of course. But intelligence today can be gathered to multiple ways. So all those grids also went silent. CI grid was broken. Intelligence grid also, which is part of CI grid, that also got disturbed. And agencies which operate independently of CI grid. See, army operates on CI grid. So our intelligence grid is also set along CI grid. But then you have agencies like Intelligence Bureau, you have RAW, which operates across borders. You have a lot of other agencies uh, who also have a role to play. So nobody got any input. So that's where we went wrong. In Kargil also we had gone wrong similarly. Creating vacuum is one reason, but then losing hold on your intelligence, especially today when you have satellites, you have technology which can help you. Uh, so that's a mistake I think we must admit as a nation or as a force that's led to this situation.
Right. You talked about VDCs, so what is the current status right now and, their role in the fight against terrorism? How are they placed in today's times?
See, earlier phase of 96, 97, 98, right till 2003, 4, VDCs played a big role. They were practically in every village in Kishtwar area, Rajouri, Punch. In fact, since I belong to the Rajouri, Punch area, so the women VDC, purely women VDC, the only VDC in the country. Now they've been reactivated, but scale is still not as big as it was that time. And see, Shwetaji, we must understand that what was applicable or what worked in 1995, 96 will not work today. So if decision makers think that by giving them antique weapons like 303, which are World War II vintage weapons, giving them no insurance, giving them no bulletproof equipment, they'll create a very formidable force. So it's a wrong way to look at it. 96, it worked. 96, even army was fighting with SLRs. Only few people used to have AKs. Today, everybody practically deployed in CI grid has a AK, and your adversary is now switched over to MI series of weapons, American weapons, and like set and radio sets, like I said, are Chinese sets. So you need to upgrade. That upgrade has not happened. Now I believe that certain people have been given SLRs, self-loading rifles, which used to be used by Indian Army in 80s and 90s, and later on discarded. Uh, INSAS is another 5.56 caliber weapon which army used during Kargil war, and now it's phasing out. I believe those are coming in. But if I were to be asked, nobody will ask me in any case. I would say it should be a formal kind of a organization, because see, the guy who's giving duty in the night, who's going to look after his bread butter in the daytime? He has to earn for his family, no? So if he's a say shopkeeper, or he's a peon in an office, or he's a farmer. So he's doing his bit to feed his family during day, and night he's awake doing the patrolling of the area. So how unfair it is. So you need to give them a kind of if not pay, you have to give them some kind of honorarium, something for the help them to cut down on their physical work during day hours, or in 24 hours cycle, and give them more time for this work. So you need to compensate monetarily. You need to give them insurance. Need to give them training has been given. And our area luckily has a lot of ex-servicemen. The whole belt from Punch to Kathua, every house practically has a soldier. So resources are not an issue, because soldiers retire at the age of 45, 40. They're young soldiers. They're a retired ex-serviceman, whom we call ex-serviceman, is what? He's 45, 40. Only officers retired at 40, 50, 55, 54, colonels and below. These JCOs and NCOs, they come home when they're in early 40s. So they're young, trained. So while ex-servicemen have the benefit that they get their pensions, we also get our medical cover, everything given by army. If you're picking up young boy or non-ex-serviceman kind of a person from the civil street, so you need to compensate. So those things, actually, what happened, Shwetaji, Jammu Kashmir has been ruled by people based in Kashmir. They never want Jammu to become strong. So in 47, 48, we had our state forces training center in Satwari in Jammu, which is the state forces are now called Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. The center was moved out from Jammu and Kashmir center to Jabalpur because Sheikh Abdullah wanted that way. Because he felt that if Dogra troops are there in Jammu in good numbers, there will be problems for him. Now, you tell me a very commonsensical question. You have a big city called Jammu, which is practically hugging the international border. In fact, uh, if you fly out of Jammu, fighter plane will be in Sialkot in less than 30 seconds. And if you start, if you had a way of uh, going cross country on a bike, in maybe 15 minutes, you will hit the border. So, such a place, a huge city, the major city of the state, tomorrow, if some action happens here with Pakistan, whatever army you see sitting in Jammu city, Satwari cantonment, or Amphela and these areas, Mamnabadi, like I told you earlier, all these people are supposed to fight on the border. They are not supposed to be sitting here. They're sitting here for logistical reasons. You can't be manning border 24 hours, international border. So when they move out, the city is empty. There's nothing here other than police. So if you have a training center here, where you have young guys undergoing recruitment training, and they could be good at nothing, just raw recruits, but they're wearing uniform. So if they come out on street carrying a danda, even that will help in a case of some flare up while the war is on. So to weaken Jammu, this center was sent out. Similarly, when it came to VDGs, which was not happening in Kashmir, VDCs that time and VDGs now are only legacy of Jammu region. So Kashmiri politicians couldn't digest it. So the agenda they started throwing was that we are militarizing the society. So we are giving weapons to civilians, which should not be done. If you remember something which Obama said in America, and American police in most of the states is actually now handicapped. So that kind of thing was played here. But now that we have our own Lieutenant Governor ruling on behalf of Delhi, uh, and I don't know why people are rushing for elections. Yesterday, there were news of elections happening very soon. I think those things should be kept aside for a while. And this latest issue of flare up should be tackled. And things like getting center back to Jammu is a thing which should be done. And VDCs, VDGs should be strengthened, enabled, empowered, and covered financially. Their financial security needs to be given to them.
Absolutely. If the VDCs play such a crucial role in combating terrorism, they should be properly and formally equipped. Ajay, you talked about politics. So, what are your thoughts on the recent statement by the DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, where he talks, he mentions mainstream political parties supporting terror networks for electoral gains. And this has actually helped Pakistan successfully infiltrate many aspects of the civil society.
Oh, he's right because I think he was forced to say this because we as Indians don't read our history. And whatever we read between two books, we always pick up books written by foreigners who keep serving some kind of narrative on our platters and we keep consuming it. If you look at the history of Kashmiri politicians, Sheikh Abdullah had that thing called Plebiscite Front, which was the janani or origin of the first big terrorist organization in Kashmir called JKLF. You would have seen the pictures of his son Farooq Abdullah, who became chief minister later on, who ran away when trouble started. He ran away with the family to London. Farooq Abdullah delivering speeches in JKLF training camps inside POJK. The pictures you can surf on internet. So this takes care of Abdullah family. Then you have second family, Mehbooba Muftis. So she is the one who started visiting families or houses of terrorists who were getting killed by army in Kashmir. As a chief minister, she had most of the security barriers removed from the roads, saying that it is trouble for the civilians. Okay, so by removing the barricade, you have a Kashmiri Pandit getting shot or army people getting ambushed. That was none of her worries. She was shocked when Burhan Wani was shot. She is on record to say he shouldn't have been killed. Okay, logic given is Kashmir will burn. She is the one who opposed 370 and Tiranga ko kanda koi nahi dega, a famous statement. So what DGP is saying, he's forced to say because he's pained. When you have men getting killed, men wearing uniform, because this latest incident, there was one JKP soldier also who died along with the four army people in that Captain Thapa's group. There was a JKP soldier. They had a DSP dying, getting killed in Kokarnag last year along with the army CO and one captain or major. So as a head of an organization, when you see, and there's so many policemen who've been killed in Kashmir, like we were referring to as targeted killing over last 3 years, a lot of 20 odd of them were killed. So I think the pain drove him to say that. But what he said is a fact. And anybody can come and debate. What I've told you, those 2, 3, 4 pointers about JKLF and Farooq Abdullah and Sheikh Abdullah, and if any of this is false, I'll apologize and I'll accept it. But these are facts. These are facts. These are gospels, in fact. So he's right. What he said is right.
Oh. So, Ajay ji, India has reiterated that Mirpur, Muzaffarabad, and Gilgit-Baltistan are an integral part of India, which are all, Pakistan-occupied regions of Jammu and Kashmir. So, do you believe that the return of this territory to India could reduce terrorism, considering these areas serve as hubs for anti-India terrorist infrastructure? And even the Kargil war, it was launched from Gilgit-Baltistan. So, what do you think?
Okay. See, Kargil was launched from Gilgit-Baltistan. Troops were Northern Light Infantry, which was once upon a time Gilgit Scouts. But it was not launched by Gilgit-Baltis. It was launched by Pervez Musharraf and his gang sitting in Rawalpindi. So troops will obey, no? Troops are given orders. And civilians in Pakistan, even anywhere, if army is near border area, line of control area, if army is building up a base or logistics, nobody is going to object. Nobody is allowed to say anything. This happens everywhere. But your point is valid because, okay, I'll also tell one more thing. Like we should not be referring to Doda region area as Chinnar Valley. which is a narrative built started from Kashmir and started from Pakistan and came to Kashmir. We should also not be referring to Gilgit-Baltistan and other part of POJK, that is Rawalakot, Bagh, Palandri, which is across Poonch and Rajouri, this side of Jhelum, separately. Because Pakistan has actually done it. Pakistan has separated so-called POJK and they calls it Azad Kashmir, and Gilgit-Baltistan calls northern areas, which is a wrong move. It's a illegal move. So for us Indians, the whole area, starting from Gilgit, Baltistan, coming down right till Bimbar and Champ on the banks of Chenab, all this area is POJK. Now, this POJK has a population of about 4.5 million. And this area, particularly the lower POJK, we can, for the ease of understanding, we can call it lower PJK. That is POJK, that is starting from Champ. As you keep going up, you have Bimbar, Mirpur, Kotli, uh, that you have Rawalakot, then you have Bagh, then you have Muzaffarabad, then you go on to Neelam Valley, Kishanganga Valley, they call it, even though you have Sharda Peeth there, the right till Gurez. So this area has population of about 4 million, out of which 2 million the able-bodied men, they don't stay in that area. They work all across Pakistan as laborers, and a good chunk out of 2 million, almost 1.5 million are abroad, working as a laborer, unskilled people, because there's no development, there are no universities, no colleges, nothing. Pakistan has done nothing there. So about 1 million of them, they work as unskilled labor in UAE, which happens to be friendly Indian country. Okay. So while this is a fact, Gilgit-Baltistan is slightly different. This is a fact that lower POJK has seen the launch pads. It has also seen terrorist training camps. It has also seen necks of our soldiers, heads of our soldiers cut along the line of control, taken across and displayed on the crossings of Rawalakot and Bagh. People have seen that, and they are naturally, when you grow up as a kid seeing all this, you see terrorists wearing no uniform but carrying weapons and flashing their ammunition, and then carrying head of Indian army soldiers. So naturally, you get radicalized. You start thinking on those lines. This is a way of life. So that danger is there. So I am very practical when it comes to tackling POJK. I would say that to start with, POJK, the lower POJK part gives us nothing. There's no mineral deposit there. There's no road. There's no university. There's nothing there. It's an underdeveloped area, but has a huge population. By getting them into India, you are going to create an imbalance of demography in Jammu and Kashmir state and country as a whole, and radicalized minds, like you said. So if they were to come to us, firstly, there's no point sending troops to capture that area. If Pakistan balkanizes, which looks very likely, Pashtunistan becoming first independent entity, followed by Balochistan, and Sindhu Desh is also now uttering, and southern Punjab is also restless, and Gilgit-Baltistan and POJK, the whole POJK for the first time in the history carried out protests earlier this year, using a network of committees called Awami Action Committees. So earlier, lower POJK had no kind of contact with Gilgit-Baltistan people, because this lower POJK, the population or demography is intact. No outsider has come in, because they also had something like we had 370. So no non Jammu and Kashmir resident can come and buy land or settle in lower POJK. But by calling the upper part as northern areas, Pakistan actually pushed in a lot of Sunnis into that Shia belt. And most of businesses, contractors, everything is, they are Punjabis, Sunnis. So demography of that area has been changed. So if you were to ask me, I would say, for the time being, leave the lower POK as it is. If it comes to us independent by on its own, so quarantine it for 10 years. So you move your army to Jhelum, protect it, but keep them separate. And I'll not say do what Chinese are doing in Xinjiang, but something of that kind will have to be done. The area will be developed, their education will be made better. So it needs at least 10 years of quarantine. There'll be Indians, but not really allowed to mix around, that kind. When it comes to Gilgit Baltistan, the thing there is easier in the sense that people who don't have a certificate of residence of Jammu and Kashmir, like we had this state subject in Jammu and Kashmir earlier, they should be thrown out immediately after we take back the area, because Gilgit-Baltistan gives you access to Central Asian region through Wakhan corridor, Pakistan, Afghanistan. While the terrain is very tough, you have one route going via Chitral in Afghanistan, which is again not a route you will send huge convoys of, petrol carrying, gas carrying vehicles. But to start with, you're getting free flight path. You can fly into Central Asian region without any issue. Today, if you want to go to Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, you have to fly via Iran because Pakistan doesn't allow you. So the first thing which will happen, first benefit which is going to come is we'll have a clear flight path going into Central Asian region and beyond into Europe. And second is, as you build tunnels and make roads, then the second biggest gas field outside West Asia is in Central Asian region. So in our gas security or energy security is then sorted out. So, and there the population, the Shias, they don't really follow what all these Wahhabis, Salafis, and Deobandis and Barelvis and all these guys who are very fond of jihad. That concept is not there. So that population that way is different. But you cannot force that population to behave. If you just go and capture that area by using Foj, so you're creating one more trouble spot for yourself. Then you're controlling it. So I would say let these areas come back to us. Once they come back to us, let's put our troops to defend the border, new border, which is actual border of Jammu and Kashmir state. Quarantine lower Jammu and Kashmir, POJK. Make use of upper one, where China will be pained and China will react because his CPEC is then gone. But I have a point here which I've been making in many for our parliament says what government is saying is nothing new. Our parliament has a resolution which says the complete POJK belongs to India. So this year, earlier this year, we saw protests in Gilgit-Baltistan where people were asking for wheat because nothing much grows there, so everything goes from Pakistan when it comes to crop. Why couldn't we send 2 or 3 transport aircraft escorted by fighter aircraft and drop some symbolic drop of wheat in Gilgit-Baltistan? Our area, no, it's our area. So if our people are not being fed by Pakistanis, it becomes our moral duty. This is how you make a statement. This is how you claim what belongs to you. That conservative approach, somehow I'm not in favor of what government did. Just sat down and said, okay. Our media picked up things. They're saying Kargil ka rasta kholo, and that all those, they had their different interpretation. We had, our media said they want to come to India. They that time when they said Gilgit, people said open the road to Kargil. They said open for it to us so that we can trade with Kargil, like others were trading across Uri. Or that didn't mean that they want to come to India. That point has not been reached, because like I said, if we have a friendly country called UAE where 1 lakh residents of POJK work as small time laborers and unskilled, so I think we should do something there to reach out to them and then create an environment in POJK which we should be able to exploit. That we are not doing. We not made this statement by sending in few aircraft, because you had Uri, we did surgical strike on ground. You had Pulwama, we did air strike in Balakot. You can't keep doing same thing time and again. You have to graduate to next level. So a very good opportunity was there when India could have sent rations or wheat into Gilgit-Baltistan. Of course, we couldn't have fed everybody there, but it would have been just a symbolic thing. Okay, it's our area, and we are sending food for our people who are starving. So more than that resolution and more than claims being made on in rallies, such actions would actually create a situation where people will start thinking that they belong to India. Today, why should a Gilgiti think he belongs to India? It's logical thing. India's done nothing for them. So unless until our Prime Minister speaks out from Red Fort and says hello to them every year, he says hello to our people sitting in POJK, unless until we send our aircraft to drop supplies when required, so nothing will happen. So, and unless until we do something in West Asia where a lot of diaspora is there, nothing. These statements actually, I don't get impressed by statements. But the fact remains, it is our land. It will come back to us.
Definitely. I mean, actions speak louder than words, and one cannot deny the appalling socio-economic conditions of people in Gilgit-Baltistan and Mirpur Muzaffarabad. And only time will tell the future of these occupied regions of Jammu and Kashmir. I also wanted to clarify that yes, what I meant was Pakistan uses these areas as hubs for anti-India terrorist infrastructure. So, Ajay ji, my last question to you. 75 years have passed, and Pakistan persistent hostile actions and support for terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, it continues. So what would be a long-term strategy or approach that India could implement to effectively, address and overcome the strategic and operational difficulties that are posed by Pakistan?
See, there are multiple levels where we need to work. Diplomatic, of course, Jaishankar ji is doing a lot of good work, so we must give him his due. The diplomatic isolation of Pakistan. And today, basically, Pakistan has only one friend, which is China, and there's half a friend called Malaysia, and there's a unmentionable friend called Turkey. Otherwise, Pakistan is practically isolated. 96% of its land border is shared with countries with whom it has issues: Iran, India, and Afghanistan. Only 4% is with China, which is our territory in Afghanistan. So that diplomatic, of course, that. Now, what happens is, Shweta ji, I am sure you're sitting in so far away land. You also disturbed seeing so many casualties happen. When these things happen, then something has to be visible, has to be done. Like Uri strike, surgical strike, Balakot, things were done. Those things don't kill terrorism forever. That also should be understood. Those actions don't mean that after airstrike, Jaish e Mohammed will vanish. No, it doesn't happen that way, because it's more of an ideological thing. It is more of a mindset. And like I said, if the problem is fundamentalist Islamic problem, so it will not die with bullets. Let's be very honest about it. But that doesn't mean that you just sit tight and say, oh, okay, okay, okay. So like this spurt, this thing when it started, this latest series of attacks in Jammu region. So I've been saying that let's do away with the ceasefire, which we have with Pakistan for last more 2 decades. And instead of breaking it in line of control area where not much of population resides along line of control other than Punch or Mandar, otherwise these are thinly populated areas. Plus, with so many of years of arty shelling happening in the past, the system there is that people know how to survive and the bunkers have been made. Let's open this front between Jammu and Pathankot. So this area we call international border. Pakistan doesn't recognize it international border. It calls it working boundary. So you can breach it using their definition. Otherwise, international boundary breaching means war. So if you open a front in Punjab and Rajasthan, it will be war. But if you want to keep it limited and yet to want to make a statement and tell your countrymen, okay, who's hurting us today in Pakistan? The Punjabis in Pakistan are hurting us. That's why I said that when Gilgit-Baltistan Kargil happened, the planning was done in Rawalpindi. The decision makers in Pakistan are Punjabis, though they're 38%, but they rule the country. So their Punjab needs to be heard. And Punjab can be hurt if we start opening artillery fire between areas between Jammu and Pathankot. By firing an artillery gun from Jewel Chowk inside Jammu, you can hit Sialkot. Now that will also mean that they will also fire. Let them fire. Medium gun ammunition is something we know status of Pakistan. Whatever they may say, they don't even have medium gun ammunition to fight a war for 2 days. Whatever they had, they sold it off to Ukraine, where it is bursting inside the barrels and killing Ukrainian soldiers. You would have seen the video. That is Auqat of Pakistan. So let it be medium artillery battle. Let's fire medium artillery, range of 40 kilometers. Let them also open with 40. Let's see how long will they sustain. Of course, we'll also get injured. Our people will also get mauled. But then it will put an end. It will show that place to Pakistan militarily. This is where you stand. Today we are only kind of doing, like people say, cutting in that, which doesn't work. At the same time, Jammu region needs to be developed. Now, if you have area only one road, this ambush which happened in Machedi, so you had only one road. So if I were a terrorist and I want to hit you, and you being operating in an area which has been peaceful for 2 decades and there's no threat, so you come in a normal vehicle, soft body vehicle. I know whenever you come, you may come today, because what army does, as a matter of our habit, we always break our routines. We don't follow same routines. Like it's not that every Monday there'll be convoy. So it will be Monday, Tuesday. That's what is kind of our DNA. So if I'm a terrorist, all that I need is a patience. So I pick up a spot and I sit there. If convoy comes today, I'll hit it today. It will come tomorrow, I'll hit. It will come. In a week's time, the convoy will come because rations have to come, mail has to come, medicines have to come, people have to go on leave, people have to return from leave. So movement will happen. So you have one road, a guy with a patient sits there, and maximum he has to sit for 7 days. If he's lucky, he may get it on first day, and he hits you. So when you don't have laterals, I understand there's a mountainous area, building roads is very difficult. But when you can have a Mughal road taking trucks across into Kashmir today, where nothing existed before, we can always have laterals. We can have way where army has a flexibility to switch from one area to another. Today, you can't. If a bird were to fly from, say, Rajouri, Punch, and go to Uri in Pakistan, in Kashmir, a bird will take about 15 minutes, 15 minutes. But for an army unit to switch from Punch to Uri, in between stands Pir Panjal, the shortest is via Mughal Road, and it'll take about 8 hours. Why? Because the Crowfly route had something called Hajipir Pass, which was taken by Pakistan in 47. We took it back in 65 and gave it back. So when you have this, why can't we have a tunnel from Punch to Uri? Why can't we have a tunnel from Rajouri to the Tral area of Rajouri and opening up in Shopian? Why not? So we need to develop. So till now, we've been focusing only in Kashmir. We developed Kashmir, we secured Kashmir, and Jammu, whether it was militancy or terrorism happening in Punjab, we suffered. When it was happening in Kashmir, we suffered. There was turbulence in Kashmir, so our internet was banned. There was trouble there, so our 4G was banned. So we've been paying price for everything. So certain things have to be done in Jammu area. Separate Jammu state from Kashmir. Don't hold elections here. Let it remain a UT, Jammu UT of Kashmir for 10 years. Let our leadership grow, a new leadership. I have no faith in the leadership which exists today. The leaders of today's Jammu are the ones who would go and bend in front of Kashmiris. They've been bending for 70 years and doing nothing for Jammu. The new crop of leadership, which is now coming up from Panchayat and all these elections, new parties which are coming up in Jammu, they need time. So give them 10 years, have a fresh bureaucracy, keep it under central control. 10 years later, have elections and give it full statehood to Jammu from Poonch to Kathua and Bhadra, Kishtwar. So if these things don't happen at multiple levels, and of course, see, armies got hit. Army will retaliate. We will understand where we went wrong. When you get hit or buy casualties, it is also because of course, it is because of your adversary's skill. It is also because of mistakes at times from your side. So you will overcome. We have overcome in the past. We learn our lessons. Army will never come and address a press conference, say, okay, they killed 4 because of this. So now we done change and now we are not getting killed. They'll not speak. They will quietly do what they're supposed to do. Other things, political decisions, and how to hurt Pakistan. You want to hurt Pakistan in Punjab, so you need to have assets that side. We have unknown gunmen operating. You have PTP there, already there, BLA there. So Pakistan, from where the thing originates, has to be dismembered. It has to be dismantled from the present form into different entities, and which is, as it is CIA's plan. It's a paper which got leaked out many years back. So CIA already years back, they thought of creating Balochistan, creating Pashtunistan. So we must help CIA achieve this, and do what we can do inside our part of Jammu and Kashmir. That's how I look at it.
On those very pertinent suggestions, which will help curb terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, we shall conclude. Thank you, Ajay, for such an in-depth conversation and for patiently elaborating on so many different aspects of the dynamics at play in this region. And given your deep knowledge and the extensive array of books that you have written on this subject and region, we would definitely love to connect with you again to delve into some other topics on this region. So thank you so much again for your time today. And to all our viewers, definitely please stay tuned to our channel as we plan to bring you more such conversations to provide a well-rounded understanding of Jammu and Kashmir. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta ji. Thank you, everybody. Namaskar.